Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and remember, Context is Everything Media Network founder and CEO John Michael is reading a textbook, cover to cover. Today, we start Chapter 21. Chapter 21 of this world history textbook, copyright date 2001, Revolutions in Europe and Latin America, 1790 to 1848. Section 1, An Age of Ideologies. Last week we were talking about the industrial age in Europe, talking about Marxism, talking about the ideologies that arose during that as a counteracting to the atrocities that went on inside of those factory buildings, and the eventual solutions that began to arise via parliament and all that. Here we are today, an age of ideologies, revolutions in Europe and Latin America. Please like and subscribe. It's free, please. And ideologies. Setting the scene. A revolutionary seed had been planted in Europe, warned Prince Clemens von Metternich. The ideas spread by the French Revolution and Napoleon Bonaparte, he believes, not only threatened Europe's monarchs, but also undermined its basic social values. Passions are let loose to overthrow everything that society respects as the basis of its existence. Religion, public morality, laws, customs, rights, and duties all are attacked, confounded, overthrown, or called in question. Memoirs of Prince Metternich. At the Congress of Vienna, the powers of Europe tried to uproot the revolutionary seed. Other voices, however, kept challenging the order imposed in 1815. The clash of people with opposing ideologies or systems of thought and belief plunged Europe into more than 30 years of turmoil. 1 second, I'll be right back. Please like and subscribe while I'm away. I'll be back in 8 seconds, okay? Prince Metternich. Can you believe it, this guy with the gall that he has to say that? Unbelievable. Makes me sick. Well, actually, I'm not sure who he is. Heading 1. Conservatives and the Old Order. Heading, hence the glasses. The Congress of Vienna was a victory for the conservative forces, which included monarchs and their officials, noble landowners, and church leaders. Conservatives supported the political and social order that had existed before the French Revolution. Conservative ideas also appealed to peasants who wanted to preserve traditional ways. Conservatives in the early 1800s wanted to turn the clock back to the way things had been before 1789, all revolutions and all such, so like the French Revolution and all of that. People thinking, monarchs? Why would we do that anymore? Why would we do monarchs anymore? That's what they want to turn back the clock. Conservatives, conservation, conserving the ideals and all that. Hence the word conservative. After all, they had benefited under the old order. They wanted to restore royal families and thrones they had lost when Napoleon swept across Europe. They supported a social hierarchy in which lower classes were expected to respect and obey their social superiors. Conservatives also backed an established church, Catholic in Austria and Southern Europe, Protestant in Northern Europe, and Orthodox in Eastern Europe. Napoleon. So Napoleon swept through Europe and effectively ended many monarchies? Is that what they're saying? I did read that section, but if that's the case, I sense a conspiracy brewing. All right. Conservatives believed that talk about natural rights and constitutional government could lead only to chaos, as it had in France in 1789. If changes had come, They argued it must come slowly. Conservatives felt that they benefited all people by defending peace and stability. Conservative leaders like Metternich sought to suppress revolutionary ideas. Metternich urged monarchs to oppose freedom of the press, crush protests in their own countries, and send troops to douse the flames of rebellion in neighboring lands. The liberal and nationalist challenge. Challenging the conservatives at every turn, new heading, were liberals and nationalists who were inspired by the Enlightenment of the French Revolution. Liberalism and nationalism ignited a number of revolts against established rule. Interesting. Nationalism is now appealed with conservatism, as before it was appealed with liberalism. Liberalism and nationalism ignited a number of revolts against established rule, liberal goals. Because liberals spoke mostly of the bourgeoisie, or middle class, their ideas were sometimes called bourgeoisie liberalism. Liberals included business owners, bankers, and lawyers, as well as politicians, newspaper editors, writers, and others who helped to shape public opinion. Liberals wanted government to be based on the writings and constitutions and separation of power, based on written constitutions and separation of power. Liberals spoke out against divine right of monarchy and the old aristocracy and established churches. They defended the natural rights of individuals to liberty, equality, and property. They called for rulers to elected by the people and responsible for them. Thus, most liberals favored the republican form of government over monarchy, or at least wanted the monarch to be limited by the Constitution. The liberals of the early 1800s saw the role of government as limited to protecting basic rights, such as freedom of thought, speech, and religion. They believed that only male property owners or others with financial stake in society should have the right to vote. Only later in the century did liberals support the principle of universal manhood. What does that mean? Only later in the century did they support universal manhood suffrage, giving all adult men the right to vote. Liberals strongly supported the laissez-faire economics of Adam Smith and David Ricardo, an Englishman. They saw the free market as an opportunity for capitalist entrepreneurs to succeed. The capitalists and often employers liberals had different goals from those workers laboring in the factories. The capitalists and often employers, liberals, had different goals from those of workers laboring in factories, mines, and other enterprises of the early Industrial Revolution. Nationalist goals. For centuries, European rulers had gained or lost lands through wars, marriages, and treaties. They exchanged territories and the people in them like pieces in a game. As a result, by 1815, Europe had several empires that included many nationalities. The Austrian, Russian, and Ottoman empires, for example, each included diverse peoples. In 1800s, national groups who shared a common heritage set out to win their own states. Within the diverse Austrian Empire, for example, various nationalist leaders tried to unite and win independence for each particular group. Nationalism gave people with common heritage a sense of identity and a goal of creating their own homeland. At the same time, however, nationalism often bred intolerance and led to persecution of other ethnic or national groups. Revolts against the old order. Spurred by the ideas of liberalism and nationalism, revolutionaries fought against the old order. During the early 1800s, rebellions erupted out in the Balkan Peninsula and elsewhere along the southern fringe of Europe. The Balkans in southeastern Europe were inhabited by the people of various religions and ethnic groups. These people had lived under Ottoman rule for more than 300 years. Independence for Serbia. The first Balkan people to revolt were the Serbs. From 1804 to 1813, the Serb leader Karageorge, Karageorge, one word, led a guerrilla war against the Ottomans. A bitter struggle was unsuccessful, but it fostered the sense of Serbian identity. A revival of Serbian literature and culture added to the sense of nationhood. In 1815, Milos Obrenović led the Serbs in a second, more successful rebellion. One reason for the success was Obrenović turned to Russia for assistance. Like the Serbs, the Russian people were Slavic in language and Christian Orthodox in religion. By 1830, Russian support helped the Serbs win autonomy or self-rule with the Ottoman Empire. The Ottoman Sultan later agreed to formal independence. In future, Russia would continue to defend Serbian interests and affect events in the Balkans. Independence for Greece. Mykonos. Independence for Greece. In 1821, the Greeks too revolted, seeking to end centuries of Ottoman rule. At first, the Greeks were badly divided, but years of suffering in long, bloody wars of independence helped shape national identity. Leaders of the rebellion justified their struggle as a national war, a holy war, the object of which is to reconquer the rights of individual liberty. A national war, a holy war, a war the object of which is to reconquer the rights of individual liberty. They sought help from Western Europeans who admired Greek civilization, ancient Greek civilization. The Greeks won sympathy in the West. In the late 1820s, Britain, France, and even conservative Russia forced the Ottomans to grant independence to some Greek provinces. In 1830s, Greece was independent. In European powers, I didn't know that, Greece was under Ottoman rule until the 1830s? I guess that's why the Greeks don't like the Turks. I think they don't like the Turks. Maybe they do. But I think, generally speaking, the Greeks don't like the Turks. I'll verify that. Will I remember to say it here on this channel? Subscribe to find out. Please subscribe. It's free. Come on. The Greeks won sympathy in the West. In the late 1820s, Britain, France, and even conservative Russia, I already said that. Still, liberals were enthusiastic, and nationalists elsewhere saw reason to hope for a country of their own. The Greeks, that is. Other challenges, and this will be the end of our time together today. I hope you enjoy your weather. I hope you enjoy the day and all that. Other challenges. Several other challenges to the Vienna peace settlement erupted in 1820s. Revolts occurring along the southern fringe of Europe In Spain, Portugal, and various states in the Italian peninsula, rebels struggled to gain constitutional governments. Metternich, who we mentioned earlier, urged conservative rulers to act decisively and crush dangerous uprisings. In response, a French army marched over the Pyrenees mountains to suppress a revolt in Spain. Austrian forces crossed the Alps to smash rebellious outbreaks in Italy. Troops demanded the fires of liberalism and nationalism. Troops dampened the fires of liberalism and nationalism, but could not smother them. In the next decades, sparks would flare anew. Added to liberal and nationalist demands were the goals of the new industrial working class. By the mid-1800s, social reformers and agitators were urging workers to support socialism and other ways of recognizing property and ownership. I hope you have a good day. I hope you enjoy the weather. And have a good weekend. Goodbye. Bye-bye. God bless you.